CTV really originally started as an experimental awareness channel. I remember coming from the media buying side, I remember recommending CTV, and I had to first talk about what CTV even was. I had to define it, and there was these niche streaming services, and it was very small share of eyeballs, let alone share of wallet. I feel like that is so different now, and it's really grown from an awareness channel to I would definitely say it's a staple, and I think for some agencies it's now their go-to for video even. And instead of being this add-on kind of caboose to linear TV, to get some of the cord cutters, or any of those small buckets of like, more niche viewers, it's mainstream. So, Jason, if you want to start just telling me, is that what you're hearing out there from agencies? How are they thinking about CTV? Have they been using it for a while? Are they new to it? What's the current agency POV as it stands for CTV?
Yeah, it's definitely a growth opportunity for the ad agencies that we're partnering with. Especially, I would say, over the last 5 years, to your point, there's been a significant change from being compared to linear television or just an extension of linear television to now being able to provide precision, especially when you're able to layer in identity. We operate here at Full Throttle on a deterministic household graph. And that means we're able to target verified households across premium fast and CTV inventory, not just devices. So very, very different from what it was years ago, and being able to now provide that attribution information back to our agency partners, our direct clients, has been a game changer for us.
We've often seen in the past CTV be a channel for awareness tactics, an add-on if budget allows, if we're really just trying to get brand name out there or some sort of promo out there, but not expecting it to drive results. And that's definitely shifted in the past few years. CTV not only has a halo effect on all other tactics, such as search, even social, but we also see performance come from CTV itself, especially here at Full Throttle when we're able to identify all the way down to that household level that has already been to the website, shown interest in the brand, then served CTV ad right in their living room, and then making that purchase or booking that appointment, whatever it may be. So yes, definitely have seen that shift, and it's now a tactic that all or most, if not all, ad agencies are including and recommending to their clients.
Lou, if I could add to that, I mean, from a reach perspective, we're helping these agencies and our partners in general extend into those cord cutters and those cord never homes without losing that premium environment that they're used to, that they want, that their clients need. From a cost efficiency standpoint, we're reducing the wasted ad spend by targeting at that household level that Hannah just referenced, and through our disciplined frequency management that we have built into our platform. And then most importantly, just optimizing to outcomes, which we do across CTV, free TV, and any of the various tactics that are built within fullthrottle.ai. Mm-hmm.
How does that ability to measure outcomes fits into how agencies may currently be measuring other digital media? Because I think a lot of the new value props you two both brought up is like all these great benefits of when digital targeting started to be a thing. You can get more specific with audience, you can be more efficient with your costs, and there's signal out there now that didn't previously exist in the TV world, obviously. But now that it does, but can you still measure this CTV the same way you do other digital channels?
Yeah, it's not just about impressions or view through rates any longer. As free TV as well as CTV continue to scale, another factor is fragmentation, and that makes the measurement of these audiences, of the users who are interacting with them, that much more critical. And at Full Throttle, our long-term focus is to strengthen that deterministic identity, to look at cross-screen attribution that was just referenced, and incrementality testing as well. We're investing heavily in closed loop measurement and integrating CRM and offline sales data into the platform, because CTV is no longer, free TV are no longer just upper funnel tactics. And we believe that the future is not siloed channels, it's identity driven orchestration where free TV and CTV are at the core and they're performance drivers inside of a measurable ecosystem.
The most successful agencies are going to measure CTV based on outcomes, and hopefully are measuring a lot in outcomes. But if they still use clicks and things like last click attribution, and those are still part of their toolkit to tell some kind of success, especially for search and social, CTV, to use Hannah's term, the halo effect, it will come down and bless those metrics as well and make them perform even better, because that bottom funnel metric can't exist without top funnel and mid funnel inertia, that comes from something like CTV, and all the great benefits of the household based targeting, the frequency capping, and all the good other pieces of technology that you both mentioned. That will help push those households through the funnel with the right messaging, and then the downstream metrics will look fantastic too. That's super powerful, because really CTV is a force multiplier then for other things the agency may have in their toolkit too. That's powerful.
So to look at the difference between the two, free TV would be a channel that you're not required to subscribe to. So as an example, a Tubi or a Roku, you may have a device that you've invested in, or you just set up an account, but you're not having to invest in a monthly subscription inside of these platforms, because they are generating their income by serving advertising. And then the opposite of that, like CTV, could be something like a Hulu or a Disney Plus or a Peacock or something like that, where you're subscribing on a monthly basis. You're investing then in the ability to view the content, in many cases without actually viewing advertising. But in some cases, you have the combination of both. You're subscribing, and then you're also being delivered targeted ads based on your interests or based on your region, etc.
And I think the important thing there is how viewers are streaming content has changed so much. I mean, even looking at Netflix. When I first had Netflix, there were no ads, but now there is an ad-supported option. And so even within Peacock, even within Disney, even within Hulu, no matter what way that viewer is accessing content, whether it's highest subscription tier, no ads, obviously we can't reach them then, but there are many tiers in between to offer that end viewer a more cost-effective approach to streaming content. No matter which way they're accessing that, we can then target them. So I think the key thing here is it doesn't really matter where they're accessing that content, as long as we have access to it, we can then serve them ads, whether it's through traditional subscription-based or CTV or through free TV. It all goes back to trying to identify that specific household more so than specific content.
Consumers are burnt out. They pay for so many subscriptions to so many things, and now there are subscription services that you subscribe to help you keep track of all the other things you subscribe to. It's madness. And I think consumers really have leaned into the free option. And I think there's a lot of good research out there that shows even wealthy, consumers still lean into the free option. Free transcends any income bracket, it seems. And I think that's good for everyone to know too, is that there are premium ad impressions out there on free and ad supported content, and that's the bottom line to your point, Hannah, is that so many people are watching all kinds of different content. And then Jason used the great word fragmented before, and that's where the right provider and the right marketplace and ecosystem comes into play to help you kind of wrangle all that fragmentation while still driving the outcomes that a brand wants.
Just to add to that, I mean, the real key, just to reiterate, is that we need to know which households we're reaching and which households then should we be reaching, based on propensity scoring, interests, etc. And again, a differentiator for Full Throttle is that our identity framework connects that streaming exposure to verified households, not anonymous devices. So it's a very different approach and very successful for our partners.
Can you give a little bit more info about how we think of premium and why that word is so important to the viewer's ad experience, and how that makes a difference for brands?
Yeah. I mean, premium networks would be, first and foremost, trusted brands that are invited into the household, that also advertisers then trust to deliver the ads in a an environment where they're going to be consumed by humans and not bots, as an example. We're not delivering ads on, gaming websites or to websites that were actually set up just to then um, provide clicks and extend the supposed reach of a particular campaign. In our case, it's all about building trust in that premium environment. That brand, I'll use Disney Plus as an example, builds trust, but it's really the identity that drives the action. And so we're going to layer again that household targeting onto brand safe fast TV and CTV inventory. And that allows agencies and our end clients to isolate these high intent households, to manage that frequency, and then to eliminate waste.
And really here, the identification portion of our tech is only as good as the pipes wired up to then reach that house, right? If we know where our audiences that are, coming to the website and showing intent, if we know where they're located, but we can't reach them, it means nothing, right? So having that premium brand safe inventory wired up that reaches a wide population so that our likelihood of then reaching that specific household increases, right? So your Disney's, your Hulu, your Max, your Peacock, your Paramount, so that you come to the website, you browse a little bit, maybe later that day you're at home watching TV with your husband in my scenario, and bam, there's the ad. Oh my gosh, I was just on that website earlier. It really does help. Like some of our team, we like to say, put a bubble around that household and then completely immerse them in your brand messaging, no matter which form of media they're consuming or which show they're watching.
Love that. Super powerful. Love the analogy. It perfectly encapsulates, something of that power. I want to I have a follow-up question there, Hannah, for you. So I heard a good quote recently that says, building a brand comes from relentless reminding of what it is that makes you special. And I think relentless is a careful word that that author picked, because it means continued, over and over again. Are there any industries that you can think of, especially as you've been having more conversations with agencies? Are there any industries you can think of that in particular benefit from that premium brand experience that CTV offers? I know maybe branding and having that trust and familiarity can be more, it's important to everyone, obviously, but for some brands, it's live or die, if they have that or not.
Mhm.
Any thoughts on that? Any industries, that really hits harder?
Yeah, that's a really excellent question. When watching shows on your national or premium content, think of, I'm really excited for Paradise season 2, I believe, coming out soon. So when you're watching a show like that, right? And you see an ad that is location or some sort of local service. Think your heating and cooling company or your local auto dealership. That hits harder than seeing maybe just a McDonald's ad, right? Or some sort of national ad. There's some sort of, I can't think of the right word, but officialness, right? Of showing up during that premium content. And it's a little bit more eye-catching when it's more local or regional too, right? So I would say to your question of, which industries can benefit, just because you're a local or regional company does not mean you cannot run CTV. If anything, you should be running CTV because you're going to cut through the clutter of the Dove, the Pepsi, the other national branding commercials that we as consumers are used to watching. So, yeah, I would say local, regional, don't discount it. There's a space for you.
With home services, certainly, when you need that type of service, if it's a roofing company, a landscaping company, a siding company, a window and door company, etc., you often need that, as opposed to, you're shopping over a long period of time. And so being available at the right time is important, again, with the data we're providing in those instances to show those potential shoppers that have already moved through the funnel, they're on your business's website, and now we're able to retarget them with messages on these premium networks, builds that brand credibility that Hannah mentioned when it comes to regional businesses. You're playing with the big boys per se, and you're able to be recognized as such. Automotive has been a huge category for not only our business, but also for CTV and for premium channels in general, because it allows, to Hannah's point, it allows that regional or local dealership now to compete with the OEMs for messaging and for attention across these premium networks. Other categories that have worked really well: financial services. We've helped with higher ed partners, with law firms, insurance companies, etc. These brands want to associate themselves again with these premium networks, but also make sure that it's not wasted media, that they're investing in something that shows an ROI, and that in our case can actually provide a closed loop attribution piece of data, so that they can then see if there was a transaction for that product or service on the back end.
And something that I hear too from some of our clients, whether we're working, through agencies or even feedback from the brands directly, is, well, I'm already running on XYZ local news station via linear. And while that's great, yes, that's one way to reach your market. I always ask, within a given week, what percentage of your TV watching is on your local news station, right? There's so many other households you could be missing by only targeting linear local news or whatever it may be. And of those that are watching that content, you don't even know if they're interested, right? If they're in market. So there's something to be said about opening the doors of different types of content that you could run across. And then having that messaging be relentless, especially to those households that have already shown some sort of intent. I like to think of the consideration funnel like a literal funnel, right? So it's one thing to drive new traffic, new households, new consumers into that funnel, but that funnel has holes, right? You can easily slip out of it at any time. So think of CTV as those blockers, right? Holding up those holes, keeping those households in the funnel to ultimately drive them all the way through and to convert.
I love that. CTV is a funnel fortifier.
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
trademark
Duct
that one.
tape.
That is good stuff. Well, this has been fantastic, team. I think everyone will really appreciate this great information distillation. Ton of good info on CTV. We covered free TV. We covered Hannah's household bubble, which CTV is a critically important piece of. And I think there was a lot of great knowledge shared about how brands are winning and driving true outcomes from the CTV medium. So appreciate the time, Hannah and Jason. Thanks, everyone.